I am. That's how I live. I live in a state of rage, which is not a good thing. But I've learned to channel it, and ultimately, after going back and forth to prison and having these, my first stop and frisk was, I was 16 years old. That was in 1957. So this stop and frisk is nothing new. You know, I ended up doing 3 years in prison because of that stop and frisk, man. You know, and it was no different than one of these marijuana arrests a day, a small quantity of drugs, at 16 years old. And once they put me in prison, and this was, you know, 57 was still the apartheid era. Prisons were divided. You know, they had white handball courts, black handball courts, you know. Whites worked in the front of the mess hall, blacks worked in the kitchen, you know. And this was the first time that I experienced this, because I'm born and raised in Harlem, not Mississippi or Alabama, right? But when they sent me upstate to prison, I experienced this, man, you know. And on top of the abuse that I had already suffered at 5, to do this also was, you know, it just kind of consolidated, you know, my hatred of abusive power, right? Well, anyhow, to cut past any more revelations about who I am, I ended up earning 4 college degrees and getting a scholarship to Harvard Divinity School Summer Leadership Institute, right? But I got this in spite of the system. You understand? I got it because they said no, and I don't accept no's. You understand what I mean? So I went on and I achieved all these things, and ultimately I filed a class action lawsuit called Hayden versus Pataki, challenging the right to vote in New York State. And it was the defining lawsuit in the state from 2000 onward. And I traveled all over the country. I spoke at all the major universities. You know, the jazz that people that knew me in the community, you know, when they looked at me, all they saw was one thing. You know, they saw Jazz, the guy from the street, you know, this notorious gangster, you know, whatever. And but I was my life has always been divided in half. You know, it was, you know, I had my feet on both sides of the river. You know, but finally I've got them both on this side. You know. 2 minutes. Okay. And I haven't even talked about stop and frisk yet. But to cut to the chase, this stop and frisk is about abusive power, man. It's about abusive power. And it takes on this form here in the inner cities of this country, you know. But this is the policy of this country all across the globe, man. Everywhere they go, it's burn, rape, loot, pillage, regulate, you understand? And these are people just like us. They're no different than us. They wake up in the morning, they eat, sleep, shit, bleed, and die just like we do. But they have this awesome power over us, man. You know what I mean? They can do this to this man's son. You understand? They can do this to 700,000 people. You can stop them and interfere in their lives like that in a year. 700,000 people, man. You know what I mean? And these are supposed to be our servants. They've taken the relationship and turned it upside down. The servants have now become the masters, and we have become the servants, man. We drive down the street, and we see a police car, and it's going 20 miles an hour in a 40-mile zone. And we slow down, we ain't gonna pass them. Who are these people, man? I mean, people slow down, and I'm blowing my horn, and I'm saying, man, what are you doing? You know, because I can't wait to pass them. You know, and this is our problem, man. We've bought into this. We drank the Kool-Aid. We walked through the poppy fields and we fell asleep. You know, there's a concept in sociology called learned helplessness. You know, I'm quite sure some of y'all know that There are some college students in here. Yeah. Well, learned helplessness is this thing where you put a dog in a cage and you keep sticking it with a cattle prod. At first, you're like, ah, rah, rah, rah. Then after a while, it, you know, ah, then it'll just sit there and let you continue to poke it because it has learned to be helpless. And that's what's happened to us. We've learned to be helpless, man. You understand? Learned helplessness. That's what we suffer from. In the black community, man, they have been desensitized. They have learned to accept what happens to them. This stop frisk thing, man. Everywhere you go in Harlem on a Friday and Saturday night, you see flashing lights, man. Kids up against the wall. And why is that? Because we have, this has become normalized. We've accepted it. And everybody in this room knows that silence is what? Consent. Let me hear you say it. Silence is consent. Right. That's right. If I punch you in your mouth and you don't say nothing, then you telling me it's all right. And so next time I see you, I'm going to crack you again. You know, if I don't like you, you know. And that's what's happened to us. And we have to overcome that. We have to overcome that silence. And we have to organize ourselves. We have to come together, you know. And this is what we're seeing emerge around the city and around the country. People are no longer silent. I mean, I was up there in that Bronx, man. I said, whoa, yo, what's going on here, man? I'm talking about in their face, on their cars. But that's just the beginning of a movement. It's this awakening, right? And I think that's what the name of our movement should be. Wake up. You know what I mean? And for those that are among us that are more strident, wake the fuck up. You understand what I mean? That's Rebel Diaz. Yeah, okay, just submit. So that our whole thing is that we have to wake them up, man. We have to wake up the people in the Harlems of America, man. We have to wake them up and let them know that it doesn't have to be this way, man. You know, it doesn't have to be this way. And we have to let them know that silence is consent. And I think I've ran out of time. And that's probably a good thing, because I can go on about this all day long. And it's coming from here, and it's coming from here, you know, and it's coming from here, you know. So it's not something I do just because I enjoy talking to audiences, because the fact of the matter is that's not one of my strongest suits. But I want you to know that it's a good thing seeing all you people here. But this is going to be a long haul. This is another sprint. This is a marathon. And we're going to need you here as the years pass.